Good morning. Glad you can join us. Something I picked up from the Book of Mysteries by Jonathan Cahn. There's the teacher, there's the student, and the two of them are out there in the desert and they're seeing this encampment. There's a bunch of desert dwellers and they live in tents. The tents were mostly dark, mostly black. A few of them were different shades of brown. And the teacher asked, what do you think the tent of meeting, the tabernacle, looked like? So in case you're wondering, when the Israelites left Egypt, they lived in the wilderness for a long time. And God gave Moses the plan, which was very similar to what the temple would be, only it moved around. A tabernacle is sort of like a temple that moves around. And so the student said, well, I would imagine, what the tent of meeting, the tabernacle would look like. It would be first class. It's going to be something spectacular. And the teacher said, not so much at all. More, it looked like any one of these, but larger, but similar appearance. And according to the teacher, and I looked it up in Scripture, and I couldn't exactly find the Scripture reference, but he says that the outer covering was badger skin. So maybe there's some connection to the University of Wisconsin. I don't know. Its appearance would have been dull, plain, unattractive. But if you were able to step inside, that changed everything. The first of its chambers was called the Holy Place. Inside the Holy Place was the table of the presence, the altar of incense, and the 7-branched menorah, that big candle. All of this was made out of gold. It was invaluable. It was a ton of gold. And if you ventured even deeper, you'd find yourself in the Holy of Holies with the Ark of the Covenant. You've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's the thing that they were looking for. Within which were the 10 Commandments. Could you imagine if we said, come this Sunday to West Hills and touch the original 10 Commandments? I don't think we could handle the crowd that would come out. People would want to see that. And on top of the Ark of Covenant, the 10 Commandments were inside. On top of that rested the glory of God. In between the seraphim, the angels. And all these things were hidden from the outside and could only be seen from within. So it looked plain, dull, unattractive on the outside, of little worth. But on the inside, literally the greatest treasures on earth. Think about that. The very presence of God. The setup that God said, here's how I want you to do it. So the teacher says, what does this reveal? Well, you can't judge a tent by its covering. No, well, of course, yeah, we've heard something like that before. But you know what? It's more than that. We live in a world that gets excited about shiny objects. How many times have you bought a car? It's like, my goodness, it's the coolest car ever. And maybe sometimes it is, but sometimes it loses its shine. There's a lot of shiny objects that appear much more attractive and impressive on the outside, on the surface, than they do on the inside. But the reality is less than the appearance. But with God and the ways of righteousness, it's the opposite. On the outside, on the surface, it tends to look hard and unattractive. So the way of the cross and of sacrifice. Oh, that's like, Jesus said, come follow me, pick up your cross. Well, that doesn't sound like fun, but you know what? When we die to ourselves, we experience real life. When we do the things that Jesus called us to do, you will be blessed in the doing. But some of the things that we look at doing, it's like, that doesn't look like fun. I don't want to do it. But the deeper we go, the more beautiful it becomes. The deeper you venture into the treasures of God, you'll find even more treasures, more wonderful things. So I could go on about this, but the deeper we go beyond the surface, beyond the appearance, and beyond the tent skins, to the treasures and the glory that those await us. There's great stuff if we'll press on. I want to say one other thing. God doesn't live in a tabernacle anymore. He lives in human lives. Folks, you're surrounded by people, and I'll tell you what, even if they're not Christ followers, they bear the image of God. Of all the beautiful things in creation, only your friends, your neighbors have that. You might know some people, they're following Jesus, and on the outside, some of us aren't so much to look at anymore. But on the inside, we have a great treasure. God has entrusted His Spirit to dwell within us. Be aware of that as you interact with people this week. And as you press in to know God better, remember, from a distance, sometimes it doesn't look so good. But keep going, and you'll find great treasure beyond any value here on earth. God bless you. Have a great week.